let's start right at the top with really the only team I like in this entire conference. So this will be hopefully a quicker one than the last one, even though I didn't really like many of those teams. So
I know we still managed to drag that out. All right. Tampa Bay, of course. Of course you like Tampa Bay.
How could you not? Over 30. So in the last few years, they have been way over the league average, 81, 46, 48, 32. So, I mean, that's Tom Brady pushing the pace last year over 81 plays. I believe that was the most plays in the NFL last year with 1,111. Nice number, nice round number. I do think that goes down just a little bit, but they're still above league average. I do think with the weapons being banged up from the start, we get a little bit of a more run-heavy attack, at least to start the year. But you look at that, a run-heavy attack and a Tom Brady Bucs offense is still 37% rush, 63% pass.
Yeah, I mean, the 63% pass you're projecting is by far the highest pass percent. I mean, higher than any of the teams in the last division we just did, certainly.
Exactly. And that's me saying they're going to be a little bit more run-heavy this year. So that gives you all you need to know about how this offense operates, whether it's Bruce Arians, whether it's Byron Leftwich now calling the plays. They're going to have Tom Brady hose that thing for as long as he's alive. So ultimately, I love Brady, 669 pass attempts. That's a little bit of a fall again from last year. I think it was 700 something. Let me just look. 726. So I do think you're about 60 less than last year, but he's still going to have plenty of meat on that bone there. So a big aerial pie. And how do I think that pie is going to be divided? Well, 23% going to Mike Evans, 154 whopping targets coming Mike Evans' way.
Your wide receiver 4.
That's what I want to make sure to emphasize. And I actually changed that one. I saw he came out in my projections as wide receiver 4. And that's one of those projections like, I fully buy that. I'm going to go make that adjustment on my big board right now.
He's 4 on both your lists.
And the reason he came in so big was, yes, the targets are big. Maybe this is hyperbolic, but 16 touchdowns is what I have Mike Evans projected for with 1,380 yards and 100 catches. I think he's just going to go Randy Moss style, just nuts for the first half of the year while Godwin's out. They're saying he's coming along slow. They don't want to rush it. He's their franchise receiver. They know that they need to keep him healthy and in bubble wrap. So I don't think he's going to play at least the first 6 weeks, if not longer, Godwin. And as you can see, even after missing 6 weeks,
you're giving Godwin essentially 3/4 of the production of Evans, which I'm a little surprised by. I mean, not touchdown wise, but still.
Right. That's because of the missed time. He's going to miss.
No, I'm surprised you're giving him that high of a percentage of what Evans is going to get, given that we know he's going to be missing 6 games or so.
Yeah, 100 targets, though. I mean, when Godwin's in there, he's the number one target. Yeah. When Godwin's out, Evans just becomes unstoppable. I think he's scored a touchdown in every single game he's played without Godwin throughout his career. Oftentimes, it's multiple. So there's a track record to those 16 touchdowns. It wasn't just like Godwin's out, I'm going to just go crazy with my projections. That's actually what happens, and I don't see why it wouldn't happen because the only other weapon there, and I really like this guy, is Russell Gage, 114 targets, 80 catches. This guy was a top 25 receiver for the second half of last year. Once we had no Calvin Ridley, he had to step up and be a number 1. Well, now he doesn't have to be a number 1, but he's going to see number 1 level volume facing number 2s. And he had huge days when he was facing subpar corners. Our guy Scott Barrett projected that out. And Gage got erased or he went nuts. And I think facing a lot of number 2s and a slot role for Tom Brady, he's going to go nuts. And I think those first 6 weeks when there's no Godwin, we're looking at probably a top 20 with top 15 upside. And then even when Godwin's back, we saw Antonio Brown, Evans, and Godwin all put up top 12 numbers for those multiple stretches there. So I don't think it's like Gage just disappears when Godwin comes back either. So I really love Gage at his price. He finished in my top 30 in projections ahead of DK Metcalf, which is another conversation later tonight we'll have. I'm not in on him at all, but very, very into Gage as this aerial pie. But that's why this is, you look at just when you have a team throwing it as many times as them, even a 15% slice for Godwin through the second half of the season is enough to make him very, very viable. If you are able to, especially if you can stack Godwin and Gage or something of that nature to have a bridge to Godwin, I still think he's going to have a really nice second half of the year. But yeah, to me, it's those big 3 receivers. And then you can also see 10% going to Fournette. He saw over 80 targets last year. They drafted Rachaad White, who I really like. I think he's the best pass catching back to come out maybe since Swift. Really, really big fan of Rachaad White. CJ wrote a great article on him. And then, truth. Oh, there you are. So I just saw your text. I don't know what happened, but
I don't either. All of a sudden, I was just like looking at a white screen.
I was talking about, so, and I don't know if you could hear it.
No, I could hear. I was just out, but yeah, I could hear.
Gotcha. So yeah, I really like Rachaad White, and that's, I think, going to eat into Lenny Fournette, so particularly as a receiver this year. The coach is already kind of complaining about Fournette's routes last year, and I take that with a grain of salt because Brady's already said how much he trusts Fournette and their ability to improvise on the fly. And Byron Leftwich said it's a tough guy to take off the field given their chemistry together. So the mixed reporting is a little off to me, but Fournette's also fat right now. Like, fat. Like, look at me. I've called Leonard Fournette fat. This guy's just huge, massive man that would murder me in a heartbeat. But he showed up about 15, 20 pounds overweight. We've seen that story with Fournette before that. He's like, yeah, I'm going to lose it all. And then he sometimes has, and sometimes he hasn't. He's been a little bit sluggish. He can't afford to be sluggish with the talent like Rachaad White behind him. So I am down on Fournette projections-wise, rankings-wise. I am significantly lower than the ECR on this one because of how high I am on Rachaad White.
Yeah, I think the ECR is just looking at it as, that's a Tampa Bay running back. Like, that position is going to produce points. And I agree with that. But if he's not just like the undisputed bell cow all the time, I don't think it's necessarily going to be all coming from him.
Yeah, and that's what was so big for him last year was the 80%.
Yeah, he really was, right?
Targets, like, it was madness. And the last thing we'll wrap up is, like, a lot of people are going all in on Cameron Brate now that Gronk's retired.
You love Cameron Brate. You always have.
I've talked, I think, about if I could spit on anybody's face.
We've all got our guys, and that's your guy.
I despise Cameron Brate. And I actually, if I'm taking a tight end from the Bucs, I like K-Dot and the rookie. We've already seen the athletic reporting.
That's a spite pick.
Yeah, maybe. But I hate Cameron Brate. He does nothing. He occasionally will catch a touchdown for you, and he does nothing else. One of the least efficient receivers we've seen ever. He's just a blob of goo and uselessness. No thank you to Cameron Brate. K-Dot, on the other hand, athletic rookie coming in. They're saying that speculating he's going to be running more of the Gronk-type routes. So I don't necessarily need a tight end from here. That's why, again, I have Evans and Gage projected as high as I do, with the running backs also combining for nearly 20% of the targets as well. Like, I just don't think the tight ends, it's not, they got to find their next Gronk. They're just not going to use their tight ends because they all suck.
You like Tampa Bay coming out of the NFC this year?
Of the entire NFC?
Yeah.
Going to the Super Bowl?
Obviously you can change your mind at some point, but yeah.
No, I don't. I don't like this roster. I mean, Brady's obviously going to be as fired up as he can be to do it. I still really like the Rams. I mean,
yeah,
I don't see any reason other than history saying that team is not the best one in the NFC right now.
All right, fair enough. Also, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Also, I hate to point this out. I hate to be that guy that Brady's 45. He's going to be 45 years old, which, for most of human history meant that you couldn't be an elite NFL quarterback anymore. But obviously that is not true. But Absolutely. Still, there's going to be some age at some point where he's not.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.